Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live Q&A. Today is the 12th of September 2019. This is episode number 98. We've got some really good stuff we're going to go over today. Actually, it's going to be mostly about travel. Got a couple things we're going to cover over there. Travel routines, how to make your life better and easier while you're traveling and staying on track and keeping on top of projects. Because it is totally on my mind as coming off of a long weekend and then getting ready to head out to a friend's wedding on the East Coast, which is going to be awesome, but we're taking a 10-day trip and it's a whole big thing. So I'm revisiting my routines for travel. I thought that this would be a good time too to share as we head into the fall before we get into stuff like Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of that. Real quick though, I want to say if you're watching live, go ahead and leave a comment. If you got a question, if we have time, we'll get to it. If you're checking the replay out on YouTube, that's great. You can come join us in the Real World Productivity Group. You can find the link down below. Come join us. And you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to stay up to date with stuff like this, as well as other videos on automation, podcast interviews I do with people from all walks of life about productivity, team management, building teams, time management, automation, all sorts of great stuff. So let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to talk about was having a travel routine. Routines are something we talk about just in terms of our day-to-day and whether or not it's, really precise, or you just say, Tuesdays I have for creating things, Thursdays I learn. Some people do things like that, which whatever works for you. But within those routines, we find, that as you travel and things get kind of thrown at you, you tend to, get off a little bit. You either lose focus or, you didn't anticipate travel taking so much time, or, this happens, that happens. Regardless, things change. You're generally not in your normal settings. You don't have, your normal setup. You don't have your computer that you're used to. Maybe you have your laptop, whatever it is. There's a lot of things that can seem that they'll go wrong. And what you can do is just over time, especially if you travel a lot or just relatively frequently, notice what happens, what does throw you off. What works well for you, and then just build your routine out of that. Okay, so for myself, a lot of times I get distracted. So I'm traveling anyways. I have a pair of noise canceling headphones, so I make sure that that's in my pack list. All right, seems simple, but it actually helps a lot. It starts right on the trip by, I can wear them on the airplane. I don't get a headache when I get off, but then I can wear them when I need to, when I'm somewhere else. If it's like co-working space, if I'm in someone's house, whatever it is, I just need to, hey, I need to go work for an hour or two. I can put those on, put on some music, or just have the quiet. And do that. For you, maybe it's always having a notepad, right? I don't know how you work, but finding out what those things are and making sure that you're prepared for them. So let's take the notebook example. If you know that you need something physical to write on while you're traveling, and that's what helps keep you productive and keep on track, then make sure that that gets added to a pack list, right? And if you don't have a pack list, maybe now's the time to create a pack list, maybe in Evernote or Notion, whatever it is you use, so that you have something that is kind of a template that you don't have to think about. You start with, add to it. Now, when you get to wherever you're going, you've got a journal or a notebook. That's the end result, right? So it's just backing it up a few steps and making sure that these things make sense. I find that works really well using, your real world needs, whatever it is that you need. In general, for a lot of us, it's making sure we have the tools that we need. So, obviously a laptop or something like that if you're working online, a notebook, and then being realistic about time and planning that out, right? If it's a business trip, maybe you've got meetings you're going to go to. How are you going to handle all that other stuff that you potentially committed to? Do you need to cut out meetings ahead of time? So that's something I do on a monthly basis, is I go into my calendar and say, hey, do I have all my trips blocked out? And then around those, have I, removed any meetings or set any notifications so that, I don't get overbooked and either miss meetings or just get really squished for time and I know that there's no way I can do that. And I find that on the meetings topic, this can be a really good one when you're coming back. How many, I'll do it here. Raise your hand if you're in the room with me and you like having a meeting or a lot of meetings the day after coming back from a long trip. Nope, yep, me neither. I don't like it, and it generally doesn't work out well because I'm really in that mode of trying to get back in my routine. I generally have, communication I've got to catch up on, whether it's email or Slack or whatever it is. So having that day or even a half day is really important to me. And so wherever possible, I try to clear out meetings from that day. And if I can't, that's fine. I just make sure that there's no extra, additional meetings, and just work to make that first day or at least half day be a little bit looser than normal because I know that there's inevitably going to be a couple things I need to catch up on. Let's see, last but certainly not least with travel is to make sure you have an exercise routine. It doesn't matter to me what it is you do. I like to run, so that works for me. I can just bring my shoes with me and go out for a run almost anywhere I'm at. Maybe you can hit a hotel gym, whatever it is. And having a backup plan, like I said, I like to run, but maybe it's not in the cards that I can go out and do a 6-mile run. I just don't have the time. So I set kind of a minimum, and for me, that happens to be like 30 minutes of cardio activity and a set of like 10 push-ups and some body weight squats. If I hit that, it's not like I'm, building this great, fantastic level of fitness, but I'm maintaining. And I know that I'll feel better, and I'll be even mentally better off just doing that, whatever that may be. It could be at times just going for a brisk walk if I just don't have the time or the energy to do something else. But going ahead and scheduling that in and literally writing it down as a check for yourself, so you don't just say, well, I don't know what I can do, I'm just not going to do it. Write it down, 30 minutes of cardio and whatever else you want to do. And again, this totally depends on you, what you want to do and what works for you in terms of exercise. But I find that helps keep me on track. And if I want to do more, that's great. But I've got that there to kind of help me and guide me and keep me on track. And something else that's been asked several times actually is like, what can I do while I'm flying in terms of staying productive? And I think that there's a couple things you can do. One, I highly recommend noise canceling headphones. I laugh because I think it's funny. I remember when I was like, I don't know if these are like real, if they, I'm sure that there's some technology in them that kind of works, but how good can it really be? It was amazing. I put on a pair of Bose headphones and was just blown away. I've had them now for a couple of years. I got them as a gift, and it's hilarious because I was like, man, I never would have bought this for myself, but I wish I would have years ago. They're really good for flying anywhere noisy. It really knocks down the noise and allows you to concentrate, or just like on a plane, just to block out a lot of that noise and just the droning background noise. So I think that that's a great way to be more productive. And if you're not being productive just by wearing them and focusing, just by you arrive feeling better and you're more ready to do whatever it is you're traveling to go do. Secondly, I would say plan ahead. If you're a normal sized person, airplanes probably aren't the best place to be doing a lot of work. Like, I know I have a really hard time using a laptop. So sometimes, like, I even have a small Chromebook, and I'll try using that, but I'm kind of doing the Tyrannosaurus arms, doing the typing on there. And it just doesn't work out. So sometimes I'll try to use the touchscreen and do a couple things, or I'll have a very limited goal of like, I need to write a couple emails or something like that. But generally I'll use that time for kind of planning, maybe thinking things out, maybe walking through a talk or a presentation, and doing things that don't require me, especially to use a tool that's really hard in the cramped quarters, in this case, the laptop. So I think just planning ahead for that, maybe, watching, if you want to watch, break it up and watch like one movie for fun on the flight, and maybe, watch another training video or something you've been wanting to learn. That's a good way to do it. Reading, of course, is a go-to. I always have my Kindle with me when I'm flying. And either, reading for fun, or there's something you wanted to cover on there, that can also be a good time to do it. So again, I find just, ways to be productive on the plane is to really just plan ahead. And don't, set yourself something really tough. Maybe you'll have an empty seat and it's great and you can get a lot done. Maybe it's going to be the flight from hell. It's going to suck. You're going to hate it. And you don't get anything done. So don't, plan on getting a lot done, and certainly don't plan on having space and, the availability of a lot of maybe non-nosy neighbors. So, plan ahead, plan accordingly, and give yourself things to do that give you a little bit of flexibility. All right, I think that'll do it for this week. I just wanted to say real quick, if you haven't yet, again, if you're watching the replay on YouTube, you can click below, join the Real World Productivity Group. And you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching on Facebook, that's great. Come join the group too if you're not in there already. And I will see everyone next week.